Hi, this is Ted Wetzel. I'm here with perhaps one of the biggest, oldest oak trees in the state of Ohio. At least the biggest, oldest oak tree that I know. Why an oak tree? Oak tree is a symbol of wisdom, and we're here today to talk about secret number 7, which is Grandpa was right about the difference between good and bad. Now, recall, secret 1, 2, 3, 4. We dug down to the depths of the ugliness of brain dead government 1.0. In secret number 5, we started on the path to government 2.0 so that we could turn the page from government 1.0, which is now brain dead. We went over rebuilding our trust, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness for we the people 2.0. We talked about ground rules that we can use to build trust. And then we talked about the paradox and the balance of how do we keep our freedom of go it alone, do it my way, and the freedom of the people, by the people, for the people, governing. Then we discovered that service is one of the keys to moving forward life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. And how only 2% of us serve in the military. But it is so important that the other 98% of us figure out how to serve so that we can preserve life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Which brings us then to secret number 7. Grandpa was right about the difference between good and bad. So, a little story. There's a Native American grandparent trying to teach a grandchild about the difference between good and bad. So to make that more real, told the grandchild that it's like inside of us are two wolves competing, the wolf that's good and the wolf that's bad. The child is taken by the story and asks, "Grandpa, which one wins?" To which the reply is, "The one you feed is the one that wins." Pretty great story. Which wolf am I feeding? Are we feeding the wolf of divided we fall? Or are we feeding the wolf of united we stand? Can we stop feeding that teeter-totter, that duopoly that we talked about until, damn it, the unthinkable? A civil war, World War III, and our grandchildren ask us, "Grandpa, where were you when government 1.0 went brain dead?" And all we can do is look at the ground and wish that we had done something. Careful here. We definitely need to make a choice. I say careful because this is not time to dig in your heels for right or left, blue or red, liberal or conservative. This is a time to fight to understand. You'd be right to ask next, well, what's good and what's bad? Who's good and who's bad are we going to use? And I think we need to talk about that, so let's do that. First, I need to expose 2 biases that I have personally, TED biases. The first one is that we have kind of like 2 relationships that we carry ourselves personally. One relationship is like for things and services. So I want the person who designs my bridge to design a bridge that is correct. I want my dentist who cleans my teeth to not cut my gums. I want that to be correct. I want a car that starts when I sit in it and doesn't need maintenance for 100,000 miles. Those are things and services that we provide each other, and we want to be right about those. We're counting on each other to be right. But then we have another relationship. It's not involved with services or things. It's just relationships of being together. On those relationships, for me, I don't necessarily want you to be right. Frankly, I don't think you want me to be right. We want to listen to each other. We want to understand each other. We would like to build together, create together. The second bias I have that I have to expose here is that for that second relationship, the least number of rules is an indicator of a very high functioning relationship. The more rules you need, it's because we're not getting along. So less is more. So what does that mean? For me, it means that if I really, really, really want to be right, I need to understand that I'm risking the relationship, because what a real relationship enjoys is curiosity, listening. And if your relationship needs a lot of rules, it might be sort of like playing tennis on a court where bricks are laid out there as examples of the rules. It's pretty hard to play tennis on a tennis court with bricks laying around. Okay, back to good and bad. I want to introduce you to Arthur Lee. Arthur Lee is an American, lived around the times of the founders. Arthur Lee turns out to be kind of important, I think. Arthur Lee said that virtue and freedom are connected. Now, how? Because he said that if you are going to claim your freedom of choice, either you choose to be virtuous or you're going to be basically told to be virtuous. Let me try to put that another way. If you don't want to be free, then you can continually ask a parent, a king, a queen, a boss, an owner, a spouse, what should I do? And hand over your freedom. Or you can choose to be free, at which point you're expected to choose to be virtuous. Virtue is defined as how one voluntarily acts. If you act like an idiot, we're probably going to find some vice that was driving you, right? That you made a choice about. If you act humane or angelic, we're going to find some virtue that motivated you to act that way. It is your choice. So, what is good and bad? It's been looking at us in the face for centuries, for millennia. It is the age-old list of vices and virtues. Now, it doesn't mean that just because we choose them that we're going to do them. I mean, we are human after all. We fail all of the time. But we also have the power to forgive and to learn and to move forward. Okay, which leads to a natural question next. All right, which ones are so important that drives us together? What values, what virtues, what good and bad do we need definitely to agree on so that we can move together as we the people, as united we stand? And then what are other things that maybe don't need to be prioritized so high, and they can be things that we choose to do solo? And as happens frequently, we're back to balance. Somewhere in the middle is the truth. So our virtues gather a little dust on the shelf, right? We're more interested in the sports page today and tomorrow and maybe for years at a time. Our 401k graph, raising children, keeping up with our social media, aging parents, careers. So we're back to priorities and balance, but we know what good and bad is. We just need to choose which one we're going to feed and forgive ourselves and learn from our mistakes. So, are you ready for a new concept? This way. A big oak tree of this size does not get to live this long by just falling over in any windstorm. For a tree to be this big and this old, it must be strong and flexible. For we the people to be this old and this strong, capable of surviving a lot of crises. At the roots, we have our values strongly rooted. At the top, we have our goals and aspirations reaching for the sky. And in between is policy and action plans to achieve it all. The sequence is important. We have to start with agreeing and trusting our values. What do we hold in common? Then we can move on to, let's revisit our aspirations. What those two have in common is every person under We the People has value. Every person under We the People has goals and aspirations. In the middle, action plans and policy, we're not all qualified to do that. I'm not qualified to build a bridge that won't fall. I'm not qualified to clean your teeth and not cut your gums. So we are all qualified to work on our values, the roots, and on our aspirations, what reaches for the sky. And let's leave the policy and the action items for experts and people who want to be experts. As adults, we know we can't have it all. We can't have it all at once. And when there's a system that's actually functioning, like this big old tree, or like our government, We the People, we know we have to prioritize. And frankly, we don't mind prioritizing if things actually got done. If we cannot get these things done, we end up with much of what we have today, which is thousands of squeaking wheels, money being passed out everywhere. We can have these conversations. We want to have these conversations. We may not be all skilled to have these conversations. So that does turn out to be one of the action items for We the People, is to work on our skills of having these conflict conversations and these dreaming conversations about our values and our aspirations. And there's going to be conflict, but we can bring it together. And we can decide what we must live together, what we must go together with, and what we can go it alone with. As you will see later in Secret 11, there is a whole grassroots emerging, already been worked on for 5, 10, some 15 years, some 20 years of how we can communicate better and how we can build this fabric to talk about our values and our aspirations and put together teams to work in the middle. You'll discover those in Secret 11. You'll discover that there's a place for you to actually sign up, be part of one of these. And it's already being shown that just because politics is polarized in Washington, D.C., does not mean that We the People are polarized. It doesn't have to be that way. And these people are proving it. What does it require? It requires us to choose which wolf we are going to feed, because what we feed is what will grow. So look out into the future. Can we imagine a new type of news that reports on our value system, on our aspirations, how our values are coming together, how our aspirations are coming to fruition, and how it all works in the middle? And can we see a new news that talks about life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and how people are achieving it, and how some people are overlooked? Which wolf do we want to feed?